Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the weekend edition of the Rangers Review. I'm back, and I am Blair Malloy, and I'm joined by Joshua Barrie, and we are bringing you some excellent news today that Andreas Skov Olsen is a Rangers player. And Joshua, I know you, for one, are extremely excited about this.
My first note is I am excited about this. I don't tend to get that excited about transfers. Now, sometimes I do, but I feel like...
You're quite a measured guy. You don't get carried away. Not that I don't see you get excited, but I've never seen you this really hyped up about somebody potentially coming in.
Yeah, I've made an impression on my colleagues this week because it's just one of those signings that's actually like, oof.
Yeah.
You know? Wow.
Spoken like a true journalist, not John Wattsmith. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they are going for it. And we're going to try and articulate it a little bit more eloquently over the next half hour or so.
Yeah, it seems like a statement signing. I know that those are the words that have been bandied about a lot over the last couple of days. Statement of intent, statement signing, but it really is.
Just some sort of statement.
Yes, some sort of statement. But it seems like a player, and I said this to Stevie in the week when we were talking about it on the podcast, and I said, for some Rangers fans, this might have been a bit early to actually expect a player of this calibre. Me personally, I didn't think Rangers were going to go this quickly for a player of this level because I thought for some reason they might try and build up to this. I thought, given the nature of the transfer business in the summer, it looked as though the players that were brought in were a bit more project players. They seemed a bit more not quite at the level of Skov Olsen, especially not in terms of monetary value, how he's been valued by other clubs. But this is a guy who, as we're going to speak about, this is a guy who moved for 12 million euros.
14
million euros, not that long ago. Obviously really well valued by a lot of big clubs in Europe. And Rangers are now mixing it with those teams and going, this is the standard of player we want.
Yeah, and obviously they spent big in the summer, but it was
different.
It was underwhelming.
It didn't feel like this.
And it didn't feel like, the big in terms of monetary value, it was Trimiti, and obviously we know that story. That's not today's podcast. And we know how it's kind of worked out in the last few weeks, but it's taken a long time to get there. Tello Asgard, again, who's got 3 and 5, but he's not been someone who's grabbed this season by its horns at all. Oliver Antman, obviously a fair investment there too. This feels different because generally that type of money has been spent maybe on players who still have to prove they can do it at this level. Now, Skov Olsen hasn't had... I need to keep saying... I keep getting told that I sound like I'm saying Scott Wilson. So
this is a thing that's been across the world.
Yeah, Scott Wilson is not signing for Rangers.
Again.
Andreas Skov Olsen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he's not a great last year at Wolfsburg. But as we'll come on to talk about, he did have a great 3 years before that at Club Brugge.
Yeah.
People can read if they want. This is more of a kind of statistical look at him, and you trying to keep me calm about the general signing. But if people want to know more about the deal and how it came to pass, they can read our Inside the Deal on the website. And one of the details that's in there is that this goes back to 2020. 2022 was when there was a lot of names of Skov Olsen and Rangers in the media.
But so this is when I first remember it from, when it was under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, and he was linked in the January.
I'm told that didn't come as close then at all. It was actually 2020, before Rangers won their title. It was after his first season at Bologna. People can read it in the piece.
I see.
There was basically a bit of a belief that he could get to Ibrox on loan. Now, he went on to play well for Bologna subsequently, and then he earns that next move and the next move. People can read more about that in the piece, but it's been a name that's been associated with Rangers just for ages, really. And he moved to Bologna in 2019, moved to Club Brugge in 2022. But that January 2022, Rangers had also signed Amad Diallo early in the window. We all remember, some of us remember that 3-3 game at Ross County where he started so well.
Vividly, I remember that game. Yeah.
Still a scoring experience. Again, as I point out in the piece, a deal of this magnitude takes a lot of things coming together, and the players' willingness to push for Rangers was viewed, as people I spoke to, as a big factor in this as well. So it's the end of a long saga. It's Rangers' first real big investment in the right wing position in a long time. Václav Černý, I was a huge fan of his, but he was only on loan. And so a profile player, and a position that they've needed for a long time. Will it be permanent? I think a lot of that will depend on whether they get into the Champions League. But this is a signing that is saying this league is there to be won.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, they're only going to get that Champions League money if they gamble now.
Yeah.
And try and win the league. And to be fair, whatever happens, and we can look back in this video in 6 months' time, we can go, whatever happens come May, they've given it a go. They've given it a right good go by making these signings. And I think that's all you can ask of the Rangers board. I think that's all you, as fans, that they can turn up and go, you know what, we put our money in, you're putting your money where your mouth is, and you're actually giving us something to hold on to. Less that can be said across the other side of the city. You can see what's happening over there. But Rangers fans definitely are buoyant by the fact that Andrew Kavanagh seems to be looking at this with the same belief and the same optimism that a lot of fans are.
Yeah, we can't say that they've not spent money.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think you can go to the opposite extreme and say, how well has that money been spent in the summer? But we've been through that a lot. And the thing is, if you can get into the Champions League, if you can win the league, it really is gold at the end of it.
There was actually a comment on one of the podcasts in the week, and I think this just sums up Rangers fans. Someone saying, I'm really worried about how much money we're spending, which is Rangers fans who have been burnt before by this, and they've seen this story unfold. Yeah. Obviously, we know what happened 10, 15 years ago when everything kind of collapsed because of it. But the fact that even now there are fans going, oh, I'm not sure where this money's coming from. Yeah. It just shows you the really complex relationship Rangers fans have with the team. Even when everything looks rosy, still there is that little bit of lingering doubt because of this scar tissue of the last 10 years.
I just think there's been... and I was listening to the Stephen Gerrard and Ali McCoist interview a few weeks ago, and it was Gerrard, I can't remember the figures off the top of my head, but he was speaking about that gentleman's promise being broken. Some of the reason as to why he left, and the scale of money he's talking about then compared to now, it was like 6 million or something like that. Yeah. Was it 6 million?
It's near enough that, yeah. And
that's after Rangers won a title. That's before that Malmo game, where you have a huge Joey Veerman era. So you can compare that to now and the amount of money.
The halcyon days of Joey Veerman.
Yeah. He turned into one of Rangers' biggest haters, but. You think of that now that they've got Romans in, they've got Chukwueze in, Skov Olsen, and we don't think they're quite done yet. It shows that they're ready to invest, and I think Danny Rule's done enough to basically earn the tools.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's got Rangers back into this, and we're going to speak a little bit about what to expect if and when, hopefully, Skov Olsen gets back to the kind of player he was that convinced Wolfsburg to spend that money on him.
So it seems like an obvious question, but why have Rangers decided to go in so heavy on a guy like Skov Olsen?
Well, let's first look at the team. So Danny Rule has got Rangers into a good position primarily through organisation, a lot of clean sheets, 2 in the last week against Aberdeen, set pieces, kind of problem solving game to game. What he's not had is a load of attackers like Cherney was last season, who basically could turn a game. The game that stands out to me, if you think of Václav Cherney, who had 27 goal contributions in a poor team, you lost his goal contributions, you lost Hamza Gamans, and you lost Cyril Dessers. Yeah. Basically, Rangers haven't replaced that. So their top assister is Jada Magoma with 4. Their top scorer is a number of players with 4, one of which is Manny Fernandez, who's your centre half.
Yeah. For Rangers to be in the position that they're in at the halfway stage with not one single player scoring that many goals is quite astonishing, really.
Yeah. And also I think it's only realistic to assume if you're gonna do something in the second half of the season, you probably need more. So if you just think of I think Skov Olsen is similar, a little bit different to Cherney, but if you think of some of the goals he scored, they were outcome defining goals in games. And one of the games that stands out to me, it didn't mean anything at the time, but do you remember one of Clemont's final games where Rangers won 3-1 away at Hearts? And Hearts should have won. Yeah. Hearts had the better chances. I can't remember if Cherney scored 1 or 2. It might have just been 1. But that was a type of game where, because they had a reliable player who could finish kind of low XG chances, who regardless of who was around him, he'd make those runs in behind. He had a level of consistency that no one else in the squad did. It took you up a level. I remember a game at home, Rangers beat Dundee 1-0 at home. I think it was just before Christmas, and it was depressing. Yeah. And the only bit of quality in that game was Václav Cherney running the own goal. So they need a difference maker. If we throw up this one graph we have to depict this player, this should worry people a little bit. This is the expected goals and expected goals assisted.
Mm-hmm.
All this is doing is putting the two together, and it's basically saying how likely what's the likelihood of a player to either score or create a goal directly based on the numbers they're putting up. Rangers only have 2 players in the top 20, and they're 2 strikers who aren't playing at the same time. Yeah. You're not seeing a Jeju Gisama in there. You're not seeing a Tello Asgard in there. You can see Celtic have 3 or 4 players in there. Hearts, Hibs, Motherwell all have a better representation. Only one Rangers player, if you look at the top 20 most creative players in the league, the only player in there is Nico Raskin for direct chances created, expected goals assisted. That's your issue, is that you need, Danny Rule hasn't had a pre-season, you need individuals who can turn games, have better decision making, unlock defences, whatever kind of cliche you want. We spoke about it on last week's show. You need creative profiles, and you need goals and assists. So that table shows you why they need Skov Olsen, because they need someone who is going to provide the type of numbers that no one else is at the moment.
What I would say is that I don't think this is entirely Rangers' fault that they don't have that at present, because I think they tried it with Oliver Antman. I think they tried to solve that position, because he was signed as, okay, you're now the right winger. But for a whole myriad of reasons, that just hasn't worked out. He's obviously working his way back from injury now. But he never really offered that threat, that presence that Rangers need on the right-hand side.
He's also right-footed as well.
Yeah, he doesn't cut inside. Yeah. He wants to hit the byline, he wants to get crosses in, and even still he hasn't been able to do that. So you look at Skov Olsen coming in, he looks like a different profile of winger altogether. And obviously the comparisons to Czerny will be there because they're obvious. He's a player in his mid to late 20s. He's coming on loan from Wolfsburg. He's got a whole load of international caps. He seems like he's got, and this is the word that you've been bringing up this week, he will bring a level of consistency in his attack and play that doesn't exist right now at Rangers.
Yeah, because you don't have that with Gisama yet.
No.
Who, again, for me, he's been relied on too heavily, and he's been moved because there's been no one else to play consistently on the wing. But you don't have... How many times have you seen Rangers now? And Rule said this. I've got his quote from his press conference. I asked him about it on Thursday. He said, I think in the final third with decision making, we have space for improvement. The new transfers, new signings should also help us in this area so we can create more chances to score. There's so many Rangers games you watch at the moment. Motherwell at home, probably the best example. Where I think Rule's job responsibility is to organise the team, to make in-game tactical instructions, to lift the mood. And to coach the team so they're more effective in transition. But because he's not had that pre-season, I think, because he doesn't have much time between games, because he's having to chop and change, although it's getting a bit more consistent, his team quite often, I think he lacks someone who is decisive in the final third, whether that be in front of goal or creating chances. So you get the Jeju Gisama against Motherwell in the second half where he turns the game, where he creates so many opportunities. But then... you don't get that. I know he wins the penalty at Aberdeen, but the last couple of weeks he's obviously been quieter. So I think what Skov Olsen should give you, as you're bringing in Chukwueze and Robbins, who are 22, he's 26, and he's here to perform for the now. And as we'll come on to speak about, I think there is similarities to Czerny, and I think there's differences too, because Czerny, I think, was more effective in games where he played into space. Fenerbahce away, the best example, because he timed his run so well and behind.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a super physically imposing player. And that's why I think he struggled at the start. Whereas all these players that Rangers are bringing in, and this is a word that Rule speaks about all the time, they are physically imposing. And I think that's one of the differences you might just see between Skov Olsen compared to Czerny.
I think you look back, and we touched upon it in the week when we were talking about this, Ali McCoist's comments after that Club Brugge game when Rangers were taken apart in Belgium. And he said that it looks like a team of wee boys.
And it did.
A team of men. And you can see that Danny Rule has effectively tried to remedy that in this transfer window. You look at Chukwueze, you look at Romans, you look at Skov Olsen. These are all players that are 6 foot and over. These are all players that are physically imposing, as you mentioned, that will come into this side and really make a difference in terms of just being a presence in that team.
See, if you just look back at that Bruges game, and I vowed to never speak about this again, but look at the a front three of Gassama, Danilo, Antman. Gassama obviously has got real speed, but none of them are physically imposing players.
You also look at that team now, and just before you go into the midfield, if you look at that front three, Danilo is never your starting striker.
Yeah, Chermiti.
You look at Antman, who, on reflection of the past 6 months, would really struggle to get in your first team. And if you want to go into the midfield,
Rothwell, who was exposed as off-ball, that first goal, how Rangers concede the attack is just because they don't have someone who can physically impose in the middle of the pitch. Asgard has grown into it, and he is big, but it's taken him time. I think he's still growing into it. I thought he was much better Aberdeen away. Lyle Cameron, who hasn't had a sniff under the new manager. Max Aarons, again, hasn't really had a sniff. So Giga, Suter, Magoma, into that team you've already put Manny Fernandez and Yusuf Chermiti, Skov Olsen, Mikey Moore, Nico Rask in the middle of the pitch. Yeah, and then...
It's almost an entirely new team.
But then also Chukwueze and Romans are both big guys. So physicality is definitely a
You're
point.
looking at potentially from that Bruges game, which was the real low point of this entire season, of which there were many early on. You could be looking at a completely new 11 from that point to this point in the space of one season, which just shows you the pivot that Rangers have managed to do in this year, because it was so bad that they've had to go, you know what, we literally need to rip this up and start afresh in the middle of the season.
It's been a long season.
It's been a long season.
But I think Skov Olsen is... we can't just call him Olsen, can we? Skov Olsen seems a bit long every time, but I've not looked into whether
We'll ask him. What do you prefer to be known as? Yes.
But I think the slight difference with him is, if we throw up his heat map from his 3.5 years at Club Brugge, he's got 49 goals and 30 assists and 124 appearances in all competitions.
Really good numbers. Yes. Really good numbers.
That's impressive. So Rangers haven't had a player... I think Rangers have been compensating in this position for so many years. Because since Gerrard didn't play with wingers, you've had Van Bronckhorst has come in, he wanted to, didn't have a natural option on this side. Clement didn't really have an option on that side, natural option on that side until Cherney came in. I think it's really important that Rangers get that profile so that they're not compensating, so they can attack some teams with different angles, because it's all been quite samey, all on the left. And then if you think back to like Ferencváros away, where Rangers are playing 3 right footers in their right-sided track, it's all just it's easier to defend because you're defending in one position. But Rule again wanted this left foot on the right hand side, and one of the reasons I'm told is he wants Rangers to be a little bit more Red Bully, to play with more verticality. And really simplistically, what you'll see with Olsen is, if you look towards the halfway line here, I think he's more comfortable receiving the ball in these positions compared to Cherney. Whereas I think Cherney only really came alive when you're talking about the narrow position just outside the penalty area. Whereas you can see the heat map, where it's darkest, depicts that Olsen's actually more active, really out wide, stretching the team, maybe receiving the ball, injecting a bit of pace into a game where
he comes
break down a block
to get the ball. From what we can see.
But I think the point I'm trying to make. It's been a long week, and I almost broke my rule of having caffeine in the afternoon, but I staved off today. I think he is
behind the curtain there, yours.
Yeah, that's how fun I am. I think he can be a more effective player for Rangers in games where it's static as well as in transition. And having a left foot on the right hand side, I just think gives you a load more options.
Yeah,
which
that's
Rule
what
hasn't had.
That's what you need at Ibrox. How many times have we sat there and went,
too many?
We need somebody to do something. We need anybody to do something here.
Yeah.
Because the crowd are getting on the team's back. They just can't break a team down. And you're waiting on someone to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and really make it happen. Which, again, as we spoke about ad nauseum, it's not for this podcast, but Daniel has remedied by bringing in set pieces. He's found other ways to get those goals.
Yeah.
But you think back to games like, I remember that afternoon we were sitting watching Rangers 0, Falkirk 0 on a Sunday, and you just thought this game could go on for days. No one is going to score because no one has the ability to break through. But this is the kind of guy who's going to come in and be the game changer in those moments.
I think Gassama has I don't think he has the decision making in the final ball consistently, but I think he has the raw ability to. And when I say inject pace, what I'm referring to there is when the game's slow, he can commit a man.
Yes.
And that commits another man and it creates a pass. How often have you watched Rangers at Ibrox in recent years where it's in front of the opposition, and because the squad was really built the core of this squad was built under Gerrard, and it was about narrow number 10s and being hard to beat off the ball. It's the natural remedy was not always breaking teams down. So when you lose a Ryan Kent in 2022 and you don't have a Malik Tillman the season after, you're looking at it going, who can actually go buy a man here?
Yeah.
And Cherney, I think I'm a huge fan of him. I wanted Rangers to sign him last summer, but I still don't think his speciality was playing low blocks. I think his movement was really good, really effective. But the goals that come to mind for me is Fenerbahce away.
Yeah.
It's Kilmarnock away under Barry Ferguson, where it's well-timed runs in behind the defence. And I think Olsen can do that, but I think he is more of a real natural right winger who wants to dribble with the ball and carry the ball and attack players. And as we'll look at with where he was shooting from and crossing from before he left Belgium, you can see that he also has a bit of variety to his game. So although his trademark finish is that curling Arjen Robben effort,
yes,
he doesn't do that at all times.
I see. Can I posit something to you before we go into this next graph?
Please.
I think Jedi Gisama will improve tenfold with a Skov Olsen in the team.
Yeah.
Because I think, one, it'll take the pressure off him. I think he doesn't have to be, or he doesn't have to feel as though he is one of the main creative outlets anymore. And two, I think that playing in a team with a player of that calibre who, like you said, can almost dictate the pace of a game from the wing.
Yeah.
Which you don't ordinarily think about. You often think about it's number sixes that dictate the pace of the game. You think it has to come from the middle, that sort of metronomic figure. But someone on the wing can change the pace of a game by standing someone up and going by them. 100%. And then all of a sudden you've got the entire team on the turn.
Yeah.
And if he can do that, I think Jedi Gisama will love to operate in those spaces that will be made when the team is all of a sudden going back, forward. When Jedi Gisama can get in and around those little gaps, that's where you can see his ability coming.
Well, I'll put a poser back to you. How many games, if you're talking about the left wing and the right wing, roughly, because Rangers have changed shape a lot, so my stats provider is a little bit confused here, but how many 90 minutes roughly Gisama's played on the left compared to the right in the league?
Oh, I would say he's probably been used more on the right.
So it's equals about 90 minutes each.
And I think everybody would pretty confidently say he's better on the left.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's doing a job for the team out there, isn't he? And if I can just get up as well, the minutes played. Gisama's played is that the second? He's played the second most minutes. Yeah, he's played the second most minutes for Rangers in the league behind Jack Butland.
Yeah.
He's 22. So, again, does he have frustrating moments?
Absolutely.
Yes, he does. Yes. Does his final ball lack? And he's not in that top 20 players of expected goals and expected goals assisted, which is just, again, how likely is this player to score an average every game based on the shots they're getting and where they're getting them? And how likely is this player to create every game based on the passes, the direct passes, the direct chances they're creating? With his ability, he should be in that list, absolutely. But I think he probably would be if he wasn't being relied upon as heavily and if he was playing in one position.
And also, I would like to add into the fact, you're expecting Gisama and Skov Olsen to have the same output when the Danish international has 4 years on him.
Yeah.
You know, Gisama will grow into a player. I don't know what Skov Olsen was like at 22. I didn't watch him when he was 22, but I'm pretty sure he was not as consistent as he is now. As players generally tend to be, as they mature into their 20s, they find out what kind of player they are. They find out what works for them. Yeah. And I think that Gisama's probably going through that just now. But I like I said, I think Skov Olsen coming into this side will only help him. And I think you're going to go on and tell us a little bit about what he's going to offer in the final third.
Yeah, well, I just think that that we've established that basically he scores a lot and he assists a lot, and those like raw numbers, that fundamentally is what matters, isn't it?
Yes.
Because we've established Rangers.
It doesn't matter how he does it.
Yeah,
score goals, just do it. Assists, fine.
But the Rangers,
assist ball, I don't care where the goals come from. As long as you're getting the goals, that's fine.
Yeah, but Rangers' top scorer and top assister is both 4. That's so low. Yeah, so low. If you just look at it's kind of 2 numbers to point out again, his expected goals and his expected goals assisted. Before he moved to Wolfsburg, he was hitting 0.34 expected goals per 90. That would place him second in Rangers' current squad, just based on those numbers. And his expected goals assisted of 0.17 would place him top. So already you're seeing not only, again, if this move works out, not only in theory are you putting in someone who should be more of a goal threat, but they could kind of solve two issues for you at once. And if you just, I've got a shot map here, Blair, that people we'll put on the screen. You can see that all his goals, and his goals are, I think it's 8 goals here. This is just in the half of the season before he went away to Wolfsburg in January of this time last year. The goals are the ones outlined in white, and they're all kind of in the same position when he chops in on his left foot. Only one of the last 22 goals he scored in the league for Club Brugge were with his right foot. So he's always shooting with that left foot.
Let me chop in there, pardon the pun. Is that a concern? Because there were a lot of people who, when Václav Černý was here, that said he's incredibly one-footed.
But he got 27 goal contributions. So if you do it
so it doesn't matter to you?
Nah.
Okay.
Because also if we look just the final map today of his key passes and assists from that same time period, it's very different. He's going wide, so he is hitting the byline, and he's not all. And most of his assists are not coming from his left foot; they're coming from his left foot or his right foot. But when he hits the byline, so I don't think
he's cutting inside to score, but he also equally is happy to go outside to put a cross out.
It's a nice bit of symmetry, and I think the best wingers, you see this with, like Saka's the example who comes to mind. You protect your biggest strength, which is chopping in on your left foot, by attacking the line, and vice versa, and then defenders start to overcompensate one way or the other. If Skov Olsen cuts in on his left foot, if you were to cut in on his left foot every single time, but to score 10 goals in the second half of the season, I don't think anyone would care. And then also, again, as we spoke about earlier, suddenly instead of 2 players or 3 players running in the same position because they're right-footed, you've got a defender, a fullback that has to go both ways because he's facing a left footer and a right footer. So again, will he be a little bit more suited to those low block games in Černý, where at points he did become too predictable? But I would also say over the course, no player's perfect, and he got 27 goal contributions. So I'll take someone chopping in on their left foot every day of the week if you can finish that reliably. I know I was a bigger fan of Černý than you were, but he was one of my favourites of recent years.
Absolutely. What I can think we can say for certain is that it's incredibly exciting thinking about the front line as it could be. You imagine Mikey Moore dovetailing with Skov Olsen, Gassama, Asgard coming on a bit of a game. You've got Černý, who obviously has blown hot and cold, but he's shown flashes of what he can do.
Yeah.
You think that Majovski would also benefit from someone who's got that level of delivery, who's got that level of intelligence. You would think that he would also really thrive in playing in a team with a guy like that.
Well, if it just shows I've done a severe lack of prep because it's been such a long week that I don't have all these to hand. But you see, if I even just pull up the chances that Rangers players are scoring, right? Černý has 4 goals from 3.45 expected goals. So he's overperformed the chances he had in the league. And Majovski, if this wants to load as well, I don't know off the top of my head, 3 goals from 2.71 expected goals. So they've only got 7 goals, but they've hardly had any shots. Majovski's only had 18 shots in the league.
Yeah.
That's not many. And Černy's only had 25 shots in the league.
In 6 months. It's not many.
That's not long. So it's chicken and egg. Like, do Rangers still need another profile at number 9? I think they do.
Yeah.
But is it hard to judge these guys until you've got someone putting up top creative numbers? Like as we've said, when you've only got one player who's in the most top 20 creative in the league, that's Nico Raskin. Nico Raskin, I think, can be an excellent player in that number 8 position. I think we've established in recent weeks that's probably where he's going to play.
Yeah.
That's probably an argument that lots of Rangers managers have told us, and we've said, he's a number 6. He's number 6.
Yeah.
But he's not, like, you don't think of him as an especially creative player.
Say it quietly, but Russell Martin said that. He said he didn't want him really as a number 6. He wanted Joe Rothwell as his number 6, and he kind of tried to put Nico Raskin a little bit further forward. I think it obviously went about it the completely wrong way. But this is a thing that we've heard before, that Nico Raskin can play in this sort of 8 rather than being the holder, try to dictate a game. Yeah.
And again, topic for another day, because there's a whole host of things to get into there. But the top line there being, if Nico Raskin is putting up your top creative numbers, passing wise, like James Tavernier's numbers have dropped because he's not getting forward as much.
Yeah.
Danilo was one of your most creative players last season, but he's now playing as an out-and-out 9 and not a number 10. Yeah. You've lost Černý, you've lost Igaman. Who's creating the chances? Because Antman's not been playing. Gassama gets into a lot of good positions, but lacks the final ball.
Yep.
The numbers back that up. Mikey Moore, I think, is really, really grown as a player, but he's not. He created that chance for Trimiti at the week. Was it the weekend against Aberdeen? But he's not done a lot of that.
Yeah.
So basically, in short, in summary, Rangers need someone who's reliable, who's going to create, who's going to score goals. If they get the version of Andreas Skov Olsen that Wolfsburg paid that money for, I think they will have found that. And it's going to be really exciting to see what happens. I hope my exposing my excitement doesn't look bad in 5 months' time.
Yes.
But you never know.
You have to enjoy it, Will.
You do have to enjoy it.
You have to take.
We've had enough doom and gloom
sometimes.
this year,
Absolutely.
haven't we? Come on.
I'll go back to your initial note on my notes here. I am excited, and I think we can leave on that note of cautious optimism, but optimism nonetheless. Andreas Skov Olsen is a Rangers player, and maybe not the last one we'll see coming in this window.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Maybe some more before January's out, as Andrew Cavan and Rangers really make a go at trying to win this league title. But that'll do us for this weekend's version of the Rangers review. Of course, keep across all of the social media channels.
Like and subscribe.
Absolutely. Like
and subscribe. We should say, sorry, Blair, I'm cutting your flow, but if people want this type of content, we have an app. If you have not subscribed to the website, I think we have an introductory offer of £4 for 4 months on. The links will be in the description. All this type of content after games in the week, it's always here first before we do it on the Saturday show. And the best way to support us, to allow us to do all our journalism from the stuff that Chris Jack turns his nose up to transfers, a subscription is the best.
You
way
don't
to do
just
that.
have all these in your head. You do actually research this stuff and write an article about it in the week as well. It's not just all bubbling around in that brain of yours. So,
I mean, it is too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you enjoy what we do here and you want to read some more in-depth stuff to it, like Josh says, subscribe to the channel, sign up to the Rangers Review, and of course download the app, because as I can testify to, that is the best way to experience all of that, aside from watching us, obviously.
But you can watch us on the app, of course. Yeah,
better.
Yeah,
even better.
You can watch our YouTube feed in the app. So if you second plug, if you download the app, you can watch this. You can read the article earlier in the week. You've got all your match coverage, transfer stories, inside stories. You can bookmark stuff and save it. It's great.
You go down the pub with your pals, you're going to look at the most knowledgeable person at Rangers ever with all the stuff that we're giving you.
Exactly.
And that will do for the hard sell this afternoon. For now, thanks for watching and thanks for listening.